Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is leaving for a two-day Mauritius state visit tonight. Says it will further strengthen the foundations of the bilateral friendship. Ahead of a meeting of US and Ukrainian representatives in Riyadh, Trump's Middle East envoy says the US expects substantial progress in talks. And the EU's trade chief says the Trump administration isn't engaging in talks to avert a trade conflict just 2 days ahead of its steel and aluminium tariffs coming into effect. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be heading to Mauritius for a two-day state visit at the invitation of that country's Prime Minister, Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam. In a departure statement, the Prime Minister has said, and I quote, "I am embarking on a two-day state visit to Mauritius to participate in the celebrations of the 57th National Day of Mauritius. Mauritius is a close maritime neighbour, a key partner in the Indian Ocean and a gateway to the African continent. We are connected by history, geography and culture. Deep mutual trust, a shared belief in the values of democracy and celebration of our diversity are our strengths. The close and historical people-to-people connect is a source of shared pride. We have made significant strides in the past 10 years with people-centric initiatives. I look forward to the opportunity to engage with the Mauritius leadership to elevate our partnership in all its facets and strengthen our enduring friendship for the progress and prosperity of our peoples, as well as for security and development in the Indian Ocean region as part of our Vision Sagar. I am confident that this visit will build on the foundations of the past and open a new and bright chapter in the India-Mauritius relationship." The US expects major progress in talks with Ukraine this week, with hopes of signing a critical minerals deal. In an interview to a domestic media outlet on Monday, Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff emphasized Washington's commitment to advancing negotiations and securing an agreement on vital resources. Witkoff clarified that while intelligence sharing policies will also be reviewed in the meeting, the US has never withheld defensive intelligence needed by Ukraine. The Kremlin has also said on Monday that Russia sees restoring ties with the United States as a long, hard task, but Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have expressed their political will to move ahead. Prior to the high-level diplomatic talks between the US and Ukraine and Saudi Arabia, the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov also said that it's important to understand if Kyiv wants peace or not.
We are at the early stage when it comes to restoring of our bilateral ties. A long road lies ahead, a hard one. But at least the two presidents expressed political will to this effect.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will also host virtual talks on Saturday among leaders of nations willing to help support a ceasefire in Ukraine. The meet comes after a summit of European and other leaders in London last month aimed at shoring up support for Kyiv. The group named Coalition of the Willing is set to include about 20 nations. Now, as the deadline to impose tariffs by US on all steel and aluminium imports comes close, the EU's trade chief has said that the Trump administration does not seem to be engaging in talks to avert trade conflict with the European Union. European Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic said that the European Union is ready for constructive engagement as no one wins from tariffs and that partners with $1.7 trillion of mutual trade should be extremely careful.
The US administration does not seem to be engaging to make a deal. And it brings me to my final point. As the US is watching over their interests, so is the European Union. Therefore, we will always protect European businesses, workers and consumers from unjustified tariffs, because we know that they expect no less from us.
Now, Mark Carney is going to be Canada's new Prime Minister after Liberal Party overwhelmingly elected him to replace Justin Trudeau. Carney won 85.9% of the ballots cast in the Liberal Party leadership vote. The elections must be held by October this year.
In first place, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, with 131,674 votes, resulting in 29,457 allocated points, representing 85.9% of the vote.
My government will put into action our plan to build a stronger economy, to create new trading relationships with reliable trading partners, and to secure our borders.
The 59-year-old economist has been influential in both Canada and England. Mark Carney was born near the Arctic in a small town of Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories. He studied at Harvard in the United States and Oxford in England, and the initial part of his career saw him make a fortune as an investment banker at the Goldman Sachs, shuffling base between New York, London, Tokyo, and Toronto. Carney then joined the Canadian Civil Service, eventually being appointed Governor of the Bank of Canada in 2008. In 2013, the then British Prime Minister David Cameron tapped him to lead the Bank of England. Carney became the first non-Briton to lead the bank in its more than 300-year history. Carney will be the first Canadian Prime Minister with no political experience. He has never held an elected public office or served in a government cabinet. Carney swept the polls on the plank of standing up to the threats of the US President Donald Trump.
There's someone who's trying to do the opposite. There's someone who's trying to weaken our economy. Yeah, Donald Trump. He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't. We won't.
Carney may not be the Prime Minister for long, with a general election due soon that the opposition Conservatives are slight favourites to win according to the polls. Aati Rana's report for DD India.
North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles on Monday, hours after condemning the South Korean and US militaries for launching drills. In a statement, the US military condemned the missile launches and called on North Korea to refrain from further unlawful and destabilizing acts. Supporters of Romanian presidential candidate Călin Georgescu clashed with the law enforcement during a protest in Bucharest. On Sunday, Electoral Commission banned the candidacy of far-right politician Georgescu for the upcoming presidential elections. Georgescu denounced the move in a post on social media and said it was a direct blow to the heart of democracy worldwide. Myanmar Catholics prayed for Pope Francis's health and wished for a speedy recovery from a long lung infection at St. Mary's Cathedral in Yangon. The 88-year-old Pope has not been seen in person since he was admitted on the 14th of February to Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Scientists in London have developed an AI tool called MELD-Graph, which is capable of detecting invisible brain abnormalities that often cause epilepsy. This technology identifies approximately 2/3 of the tiny abnormalities that human radiologists tend to miss when analyzing MRI scans. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India's Prime Minister hails the Central Industrial Security Force or CISF's commitment to duty as it celebrates its 56th Raising Day on Monday. And Nashik's Pandavleni caves are a stunning blend of history, faith and artistry.
geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now we're shifting focus to the Israel-Hamas conflict, where talks to prolong the fragile ceasefire, the first phase of which ended on the 1st of March, are expected to resume in Qatar on Monday. Israel wants Hamas to accept an extension of the first phase of their ceasefire, but the Hamas wants to start negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, which would see the release of the remaining hostages from Gaza, withdrawal of Israeli forces, and a permanent end to the war. The Hamas is believed to be holding 24 living hostages, as well as the bodies or remains of 35 others. Meanwhile, Israel has ordered all of Gaza's electricity supply to be cut off on Sunday in an effort to pressurize the Hamas into releasing the remaining Israeli hostages held in its territory. Energy Minister Eli Cohen's announcement came a week after Israel cut off all aid supplies to the territory, which has a population of more than 2 million people. After days of violence and mass killings, Syria's defense ministry has announced that the end of a major security operation in the coastal provinces. According to a statement by the defense ministry spokesperson Abdul Ghani, that security forces had neutralized security threats and regime remnants in the Latakia and Tartus provinces on the Mediterranean coast. He added that plans are in place to continue combating the remnants of the former government and eliminate any future threats. This comes after a war monitoring group reported that clashes between Assad loyalists and the country's new Islamist rulers in the former President Assad's coastal heartland have killed more than 1,000 people, mostly civilians. Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan has said that he wants closer and stronger ties with India in the changing world, as both countries have entered into the 30th year of their diplomatic relationship. Highlighting the strategic importance of trilateral cooperation between Armenia, India and Iran, particularly concerning the development of the Chabahar port, he emphasized that enhancing connectivity through Chabahar would not only bolster regional trade, but also strengthen economic ties among the three nations. He also stressed for India's strong engagement with the Eurasian Economic Region. The Armenian Foreign Minister was speaking at the 52nd Sapro House lecture at the Indian Council of World Affairs in New Delhi. The lecture, titled Armenia and India in a Changing World, Strengthening Ties, Securing Futures, was chaired by L. Prashant Pise, Acting Director General of ICWA.
We aim to substantially increase bilateral trade volumes in the coming years, focusing our efforts on facilitating Armenian companies to establish business connections with India. Armenia is deeply interested in advancing dialogue and cooperation with the International North-South Transport Corridor project and the Chabahar Port Development Initiative. In this regard, the Armenia-India-Iran trilateral cooperation format is of great significance. Armenia and India can establish mutually beneficial cooperation across every sphere: high-tech, IT, education, science, tourism, aviation, logistics, and pharmaceuticals stand out as particularly promising areas for our partnership.
The Bangladesh Army has denied having any direct communication with the United Nations regarding warnings over its role in the July-August uprising. The Inter-Services Public Relations Directorate issued a statement clarifying that any concerns raised by the UN were conveyed to the Bangladesh government and not the army leadership. This comes as the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has said in an interview that the Bangladesh army was warned about possible removal from peacekeeping operations for engaging in any repressive actions during the July-August uprising. As India celebrates CISF Raising Day on Monday, Prime Minister Modi shared his message on the occasion. In a post on X, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Raising Day wishes to all personnel of the CISF. This force is admired for its professionalism, dedication and courage. They play a key role in our security system by protecting essential infrastructure and ensuring the safety of countless people every day. Their unwavering commitment to duty is truly commendable." Well, the CISF 56th Raising Day is observed to acknowledge and honor the dedication and sacrifices of its personnel in safeguarding the nation's key assets.
The Central Industrial Security Force, CISF, is celebrating its 56th Raising Day today. The CISF was established in 1969 with just 3 battalions to provide consolidated security cover to some sensitive public sector undertakings. It was on 13th August 1968 that the CISF bill was passed by the Parliament, which got President's assent on 2nd December 1968. The Central Industrial Security Force Act 1968 came into force on 10th March 1969. Since 1969, the force has evolved into a major multi-skilled organization with a current strength of over 1,88,000 personnel. At present, the CISF provides security cover to 359 establishments across the country. CISF has 74 other formations, including 12 reserve battalions and 8 training institutes. CISF is the only force with a customized and dedicated fire wing, which serves 115 establishments. CISF is providing security to the strategic establishments, including the Department of Space, the Department of Atomic Energy, the airports, the Delhi Metro, ports, power plants, and other highly sensitive assets of the country. Additionally, the CISF safeguards important government buildings, prestigious heritage monuments, the Parliament House complex, and central jails in Jammu and Kashmir. CISF is providing protection to some private sector units and important government buildings in Delhi as well. CISF is also providing security to the protected persons classified as Z+, Z, X, and Y. CISF is a compensatory cost force, which means that the entity CISF is protecting is required to pay for the security services provided.
Now, the Pandavleni caves located just outside Nashik in India are a stunning blend of history, faith and artistry. Dating back to the 250th BC, these 24 rock-cut caves echo Buddhist and Jain heritage, with breathtaking views and intricate carvings, making it a must-visit for history lovers and adventurers alike. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya with this report.
Perched atop the Terasmi hill near Nasik, the Pandavleni cave stands as a timeless guardians of India's rich Buddhist and Jain tradition. Dating back as far as 250 BC to 680, these 24 rock-cut caves echoes the stories of faith and artistry and history. Reaching the caves is an adventure in itself. A climb of nearly 350 steps rewards you with a breathtaking panoramic view, but the true marvel lies within the intricate carvings. Ancient water tanks and grand viharas reveal the craftsmanship of Kshatripas, Satavahanas and Ahirs, the dynasties that once ruled Nasik. Local legends whisper that these caves were once the refuge of the Pandavas, leading them the name of Pandavleni, meaning the Pandavas' caves in Marathi. Despite the passage of time, the caves remain remarkably preserved, with their northern-facing entrance shielding the majestic sculptures and inscriptions. Whether you are a history buff or an adventurer or a seeker of peace, Pandavleni Caves promises a journey into India's glorious past. This is Tapush Bhattacharya signing off from the Pandavleni caves in Nasik.
And that's it for now in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.